Hello, this is my presentation. So, the two stories I chose to do were playing Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain and You Are My Dearest Friend. Essentially, in playing Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, it follows a young um, Middle Eastern boy who was born from the parents of immigrants from a Middle Eastern country, and he is going out to go buy the new video game, which is Metal Gear Solid 5. And it essentially goes through his experience of going out to buy the game, and then he comes home and kind of ignores his parents and his family as he plays this video game and tries to get into the video game. And it it follows his mental about him playing it, because in the video game it goes through the main character Snake on this military mission with these Middle Eastern countries where it is the American opposition, and it's painting them as like this bad villain. But as the boy plays, he's trying to save these Middle Eastern people who he is associating with his own family and culture. But as he's playing, he continues to ignore his real family and kind of drowns them out. And the story kind of ends with him trying to save these characters from the game that resemble his family. And as he goes deeper into the cave within the video game, it reflects on him to a black screen, staring back at himself, as it's like the turmoil of wanting to be connected with your culture and your family, but you kind of don't know how, because you're born in America and have all these privileges that you've always had, but your family and your parents specifically have worked a whole bunch and haven't had the same opportunities as yourself. And it's reflected within the story. With You Are My Dear Friend, it follows an Indian woman who is a housemaid, quote unquote, au pair, as they call it in the story. But she's like a housemaid and like childcare for this English family. Um, she is like the one who takes care of the kids, who is included within the family as one of the maids. And she gets treated pretty well by the family, but it isn't really hers because she's just the au pair slash maid. And she's actually pretty well acquainted with this family. But as she goes throughout the story doing her errands, she meets this man, another Indian man, and they fall in love. And she goes on to go start her own family with this man. And as she gets her own family, it turns out to be dysfunctional severely, as the husband doesn't really love her, is very harsh on her, very expectant with like these um, traditional values of like women being below the men and not really being there like emotionally, and like it's very cold. And they end up getting a daughter, and this daughter is very harsh and cold. She's adopted, and she's constantly rebelling, not really accepting the mother's views nor her love, and is just very jealous and harsh and just overall mean and very nasty towards the mother. Constantly talking about how she's gonna go to her old family and how her father is gonna get out of jail and gonna take her back to her own village, and just basically up and leave this family that the mother has made for them. and not really being accepting of the current family and love. And it ends up with the daughter leaving, and the mom is just like, whoa, like, what the heck? Like, I started to decide to have my own family, and it's not working out. Like, and it goes with this comparison of her family and the white family, the Baker family, where it's like these white people can have this really nice family, but once I start my own, it's dysfunctional, it's a lot of work, and like it's not even working out. But she feels more connected and has more of this family function with this white family that has always had this privilege. And she goes on to contemplate, like, is this even worth it? And yeah, so the themes that I found within these two stories was that it was a heavy comparison with Western life, and specifically brown people lives and white people life, as brown people, specifically immigrants that come from outside of America, from these like lower income or lower, like, not as economically stable countries, such as like India, the Middle East. Like, it's just very different. Um, they have to work their way up, and just to get to America, they have to face all these struggles. And it's very prominent in many brown people's lives, as they don't get to have the starting base as all these other white people within America, because they have to start from negative, coming from another country, trying to assimilate, learn all these cultures, and just get a good starting base pay, and like just start to build their own family, as compared to like these white people where they already have this basis where they can just move on and like progress. It's very hard. And I feel like it's also seen within these two stories about assimilation and maintenance of trying to be in this white country. For example, with the first story, playing Metal Gear Solid, he wants to be an American, as in this quote. Where is it? Okay, so he is biking. He's overweight, and he's just biking to go to GameStop. He's running off a Taco Bell, as you can see, and he's buying this Metal Gear Solid. But in juxtaposition to his father, he is like a working man who has gone through a whole bunch of trauma and these life experiences just to get to where he is now. And the boy is really trying to feel for his family and try to be within the culture by having this game as an outlet, but he can never really truly feel how his family has felt because he's from America, and he kind of feels guilty, or I kind of see the guilt of not being able to express it and be culturally submersed. And then with the assimilation, for You Are My Dear Friend, it's like she wants to have her own family that's functional and have all these like normal things that the Bakers had, but it just isn't ideal with who she wants to be, as her husband and her daughter don't really have the same values as her, nor value her as a person. And it's like, you can have this nice white American family, but be an observer, or you can try to assimilate and have it be dysfunctional. And it's just not really fair because she's coming from this other culture going into this Western culture where it just doesn't really fit or work for her because it's just different. Also, I see with both stories how the parental figures have this like work hard mindset or work hard personality or just how they carry themselves in background. Like the father in the Metal Gear Solid, he worked hard to get where he is. He's doing yard work. He's grinded to get to America for his son and to have him have this life that he's able to go to GameStop and have Taco Bell. And the mother in You Are My Dear Friend is able to be where she is all because she's a maid where she's constantly working with these kids. And even the husband sees like, oh, you're an au pair, and he's kind of shocked by that she's able to have this much freedom and talk. And she's kind of classified as an au pair rather than a person herself, which says a lot, which is like the work is valued more than her as a person, which I feel like is a struggle that brown people kind of face a lot with. Rather than being seen as a person, they're seen as like something that can be used. Here's the quote from Metal Gear Solid about him going into the depths of the cave where he can't really be there, but be there for his culture and his father and stuff. But he recognizes the trauma and work that and grit that they've faced, but he is lavishing in their own blood and dirt. And yeah. And then this is the quote where the wife, Gita, is contemplating if it's worth it to go back to her old life where she didn't have her own family, but rather just to be an observer to this white family, or just be an observer. Like, being brown is really one of the things that's hurting her chances of doing this. And ever since her daughter left, she's like, man, is this even like worth it? And her husband basically prompts her to being back to an au pair rather than a wife, and she says yes. And I feel like these two stories have been a major reflection of how Western culture is towards brown people and how brown people kind of live in this Western culture of just working hard and not really getting their fair share of Western life as much as the work they put out, as compared to if they were white, they would probably get a lot more and a lot more recognition and just a lot. Like, it really resonates with me coming from immigrant parents who've grinded to get here. And yeah, I just think it's sad and it shouldn't have to be this way, but it is that way. And my hats go off to immigrants and brown people. And yeah, thank you.